I came to a turning point in the beginning of December. Now, you all know that a year ago this month I had the first of a couple of surgeries, which led to an extended period of absence from the church and an extended period of healing. And by December, I still was not having the mobility or strength that I wanted to have, that I need to have in order to serve you folks the way that I want to serve you, in order to be the kind of pastor that I want to be, the kind of parent that I want to be, the kind of person that I want to be. And I suddenly found myself at this kind of crossroads in my life where I realized that I was going to go one of two directions. I was either going to end up one of those increasingly immobilized individuals, in an electric cart, and I wasn't ready to go there. I may end up there someday, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I wasn't ready to go there, or I needed to take some action, right? So I started going to the gym. Now, anybody who's been on Facebook knows that hasn't been an easy journey, right? So going to the gym has been a challenge every day that I go. And every day that I go, it's kind of like taking a resistant 3-year-old by hand and saying, yes, we're going. And I don't care if you want to or not, we're going. Because I made a decision, right? And I know that there's results coming. So now I'm at this place where I've been going for 2 months, and it hasn't gotten particularly easier. I do have a lot more energy after I go to the gym, and I do notice a bit better mobility, but I'm not getting the results that I want. So I have to ask you a question. Do I quit?
No.
What was that?
No.
So I don't quit. But you see, there was that time when I was 20, when I went to the gym every day and worked out for an hour, and I got really, really fit. Isn't that enough? No? You mean I can't borrow from my past to strengthen my present? But I didn't do anything wrong in the past. But if I want to get strong, what do I need to do today? Keep going. So I don't get to quit going to the gym. No. Okay. So this is going to come back around to scriptural stuff. But it just was the best metaphor I had. So a couple of years ago, here in Lakeview, there were some people that noticed the dwindling numbers. They weren't heavily dwindling, but they were beginning to drop off. And they noticed, that they knew that meant a change in finances and a change. And they really began to realize that they felt that the church was at a crossroads. And the crossroads was either keep doing what we were doing and maybe close our doors, or choose for life and maybe be ready to change. Now, what these people did is the extraordinary piece. These people started meeting together. There was maybe 12 of them, or maybe there were 8 at the beginning and there were 12 later. I don't even really know the numbers. But they started to meet together, and they didn't meet together once a month. They committed to meeting together every week. Now, not every week could everybody be there, but they met together every week. And do you know what they did? They didn't plot against you. What they did was they met with some common understandings, really important and significant understandings, even spirit-filled understandings. These were the understandings. They met believing that God was with them. They met believing that God would speak. They met believing that every voice mattered. And they met believing that if they sought God's will, that they would get an answer. And they met every week for almost 2 years. For a long time they met. And, some of those people were to-do list people, and they were just all kinds of people. But what happened everybody's journey, everybody's understanding mattered. They believed that. And so they prayed together. And they talked together. And you know what? They didn't always agree. But they always found a place of loving cooperation. They could have, from what I've understood, some pretty intense discussions between them, where there would be some people that held one idea and some people that held another, but somehow, underneath it all, was that goodwill and that intention to grow and to hear God. The new governance model that we are currently living at Lakeview is part of what came out of that seeking, that heartfelt surrender to each other, to loving community, to the presence of God, and to the power of Spirit. One part of what came out of that is the new governance model. And you know what? It's really different. It really is different. And I know that as soon as I say governance model, everybody wants to go to sleep. But would you just bear with me for 1 minute or 5 or, under 15, because that's how long we have for the sermon time. The purpose of the governance model is to take that attitude of community, where everybody matters, where everybody's heart is valued and heard and encouraged and celebrated, and bring it into the wider church. The purpose of the new way of being church is to allow us to move more freely as Spirit speaks to us individually and as a group. The biggest change, I suppose, is in the role of the board. Because really, historically, boards, not just here but everywhere, right? This isn't a criticism, but historically, boards have been a place where you report and you get permission. Right? Is that right? Is that pretty much what the board, they run the show and they give you forgiveness if you've done the wrong thing, hopefully, and permission to do other things. Okay. The purpose of the visionary board is to hold the vision of the church. The purpose of the visionary board is to be an open and approachable body where people can come and say, I heard about this opportunity and I think we should do this. And the response of the board will not be, let's make a committee. The response of the board will be, how can we help you? We don't even have committees anymore. Did you know that? We've changed the name. And I know that, we're all very familiar with when you change the name of something and nothing actually really changes, you're just calling it something different, and it's just kind of confusing. But the reason we change the names is because there's a change, right? So the first thing is they're called teams, not committees. And the teams are made up of people who are passionate about those areas of the life and work of the church. And when you join up for a team, you're not signing up for anything except for to bring your passion and your experience to the team. And your heart for whatever it is, whether it's the operations of the building, whether it is congregational life and fellowship, or ministry and outreach. And probably somewhere in there we should have a hospitality team, but right now, a lot of our hospitality continues to be done by the UCW, who do a fantastic job. So, what's different about those teams and the board? Well, the first thing is those teams don't have to report to the board every month. So what does that mean? Well, that means, are you ready? They maybe don't have to meet every month. goodness. Is it possible that we could run a church without people meeting every month? But what happens, and we saw it at Christmas, I think Christmas time was like, our Christmas time at Lakeview is actually the best expression of what the vision and hope for this new style of being church would be. And that is that there are a number of things at Christmas that touch our hearts, right? What are those things? Our hampers, our mitten tree, our visiting. Anything else? Or are those the three things? Oh, and our white elephant gathering, I think. Anyways, and what happened this year is nobody said, you go and do that, and you go and do that, and you go and do that, and you go and do that. And the board didn't even pay attention. And lo and behold, the people for whom that was something they were passionate about put it together and made it happen. Now, it can be uncomfortable when we're in the middle of changing how we do things. It can be as uncomfortable as it is to go to the gym when you don't really want to go to the gym. It really can be. You know, when we start doing things differently, it leads to a lot of questions. And this is the good news. This is the important thing for you to hear. Questions are good. I've had some great conversations with people who had questions this week. And it's okay. Questions are not a bad thing. Questions are how we learn together. Questions are how our voices are heard. But into all of this, you know, as we approach the first year, there's something I want to tell you. I want to tell you that I've seen in the teams, I've seen a kind of deep out-breath, even a sigh of relief, because they don't need to worry about getting permission. They've been empowered to do the work they do. And they don't need to meet all the time because they know who's on the committee, and if something needs to be done, they gather together and they make it happen. So there is a relief. And that was part of the point, that people could move quite freely from one team to another without feeling a huge burden to do stuff, but a freedom to respond to the Spirit speaking within them. Now, what you need to know is the most important thing about the new model is the assumption that at the core of this congregation is a desire to know God better, to hear Spirit speaking, and to follow the call of God. That's where we are. As we walk through Lent, there are people with questions. They're good questions. I want to hear your questions. I want you to come to the office and tell me everything that really bothers you or frightens you or upsets you. If you are unhappy, I want you to come and talk to me. If you're happy, I want you to come and talk to me. And best of all, I want you to talk to each other. And I want you to hold together this idea that we're moving. And just like the psalm today, whom shall I fear? God is our light and our salvation. We're each called to participate in our own spiritual growth, in our own Lenten journey, in our own relationship with a God who loves us. And then from that, be led to places that our Spirit wants us to go.